Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 5 Drinks at Midnight. On the show, we bring the questions, guests bring the drinks, and we try to wrap up before midnight. Today, we're talking to Daithí O'Connell, CEO and founder of W.D. O'Connell Whiskey Merchants. But before we do, like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Let's get started. Thank you so much for joining us. 5 Drinks or Midnight. 5 drinks, 5 questions, midnight, whatever comes first. How you doing, sir? Thank you so much for joining us.
Pretty good, Tim. Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to doing this for a while. We've been trying for a while.
Yeah, me too. It's been a bit, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So again, first of all, thank you so much for some of the beautiful samples that you have sent. Again, big fan, so always love adding to my collection. The new American bottles look absolutely awesome, so I love the new kind of like screen print behind that you guys got going on. So
really thanks for noticing.
I guess, what's our first drink?
I'm having the 10-year-old single grain that you got.
Perfect.
Bourbon and Rye series. I've got batch 1 here. You have batch 4, I believe.
Batch 3.
Batch 3. Sorry, batch 3. Yeah, you're right. Batch 4 is the bill fill. And I'm having mine with an ice sphere. So I didn't make it. I use the mold. I don't use those fancy gadgets you have.
I think they still work, so it's all good. So
they work really well. I see you got your black Tua glass going on.
Yeah, I'm straight. Yep, we gotta love Rosie, so always gotta
represent.
Yeah,
I do have your beautiful Tua, and thank you so much for that, by the way.
Oh, my pleasure.
Ready to go for the next one that doesn't have a ball of ice in it.
Excellent.
So let's launch it.
Cheers. Question 1. You're a former Hong Kong boat owner, ex-pilot, world traveler per se. How'd you get into making whiskey?
Well, to clarify a few things there, I am all of those things, but not. I was never a pilot for commercial means. I was supposed to be, but I was just a private pilot. Yeah, I still am a private. But so look, I've tried. I've a jack of all trades, I'd say at this point. I've tried a few things. Bar and food and beverage was mainly my main business. Every time I tried to get out of it to do something else, I ended back in there. So kind of kept drawing me back in. I loved the people and the fun and the kind of unexpectedness each day brought to you. Even though there was a certain rhythm to each day, there was also the unexpected things that may or may not happen with new customers and old customers. And to do it in Hong Kong the second time around was pretty great. I did a good, 4-year stretch in Ireland, then I did a break, and then I did a 10-year stretch. Then I went to Australia and learned to fly over in Australia, actually in Queensland. And I spent all my money flying, and then I needed to get some cash again. So you do what you know. Open a bar in Hong Kong. So yeah, and I was lucky. There was guys over there that had bars, and one of them was a friend of mine from home. He used to have a bar in Kinsale. When I had a bar in Kinsale, he also had a microbrewery. He was probably well ahead of his time actually with microbreweries in Ireland, and he had moved to Hong Kong some years previously, and every year he'd almost once a year he'd reach out to me and say, let's do a bar. And the timing was right that time, so I did it and had 5 years in Hong Kong. Great time. Kind of Hong Kong gave me the boost into whiskey that I was always interested in the process and in products, and whether it be beer, whiskey, wine, rum, food, flavor profiles. And Hong Kong just opened my eyes up to a whole other level. Like, I was dealing with a lot of student bars and nightclubs in Ireland. So, Hong Kong, I was dealing with, guys who own banks and ran banks and guys who work for them. And it was interesting. So a lot of top shelf product was drank every day, and whether it be a top shelf vodka or cognac and a lot of scotch in particular. And the Diageo representative over there, he kind of took me under his wing a bit. He used to drink in the bar, and because we had good Guinness, and he'd bring me to a few of the whiskey events and really showed me that the Irish whiskey, while we had some great products, we just had very little of it. And from there, I kind of got a copy of the late Oliver Hughes's business plan for the Porterhouse Group. Oliver and his business partner, his cousin, and I thought, well, if these guys are going to open a distillery, I'm going to open a distillery. Then I said, right, how do I get money to open a distillery? So I said, I'm in Hong Kong. It shouldn't be pretty difficult. So I decided to start a payment technology company that I had an idea for a while with another Irish guy who actually was a pilot for Cathay, and we got that up and running. And the whole idea was I was gonna make this company work so well, and we're gonna flip it, and I was gonna get my cash to build my kick-ass distillery in County Kerry. I had it earmarked, and I started working all those projects simultaneously. I started the other company. The other company's still going. It's quite successful, but we're not involved anymore. But in 2016, I pulled out of the distillery idea, for multiple reasons, a lot of personal reasons. My marriage was failing because my work ethic was a bit more important to me than my home life. And then the realization that this is a very big project, maybe a 1 million LPA distillery, and about 15 to 20 million euros investment. And ultimately I didn't want to become a distiller, so I was like, okay, well, let's put the brakes on. And I did that and kept an eye on the whiskey market, and kept my emails and phone numbers for a couple of guys who sell a bit of whiskey in Ireland wholesale. And then in 2018 I became a dad myself, and I was just after turning, I think it was 40, or close to it. And then my dad died about 3 months later, and I just said, I kind of had this realization, he died pretty quickly, and I was like, Jesus, I wonder did he have any regrets? He did the same job all his life. He was a school teacher slash principal of a primary school, and I think he loved it. But I wonder, did he ever feel like he could have done other things, or maybe there was something he wish he had done and he never did it. And my partner Alina, my now partner Alina, and we had just had our first child, and she said, you got to do it, now's the time. Don't have those regrets for yourself, no matter what other people had. So a few months later we started O'Connell Whiskey Merchants.
Very nice.
Yeah, so it's been fun.
I mean, congratulations to that. I think that's an amazing, just wanting to do it and then finally realizing the time is just to do it. So I think that is one hell of a origin story, if you will. And unfortunately, I'm sorry that it came on such a terrible note of your passing of your father, but pretty sure that he'd be pretty damn proud of you on this one. So
thanks. Yeah, no, it's I did like it. That's just like, that's how life is, and I think that's the one thing I've learned. I'm 42 now, and you do get, wisdom does come with age, and you do realize that there is no right time for anything, whether it be kids or starting a business or doing whatever. There's always going to be a barrier put in front of you. You'll always find a barrier yourself. Oh, I don't have the money, or I got to study, or whatever it is. So I think we can continue to put barriers in front of ourselves, or we can just say, fuck it, let's do it.
Oh, on to drink two, question two. What are we drinking?
I'm on to the 12-year-old all sherry.
So fucking
single cask, 59%, fully matured in Oloroso, bought from Bushmills. 2008 distillate. Good stuff.
So one, this is fucking amazing. It's like candy. So I absolutely favorite one. As you can tell, it only gets broken out for special occasions because that's how much I absolutely love this one. So it's really damn good. But also, I forget to mention, you're just celebrating your 2-year anniversary. So congratulations and cheers. So
Yeah, thank you. Sláinte.
question 2, you are classified as a modern whiskey maker that makes whiskey the old Irish way. Can you please explain that to us?
So I guess that's because, you know, the history of Irish whiskey is quite interesting, that bonders in Ireland are independent bottlers in other places. They'd be known. I took the kind of mantle as independent bottler because for multiple reasons. Because one, I didn't have my own bond at the time when we launched, and also I am going to continue to try and source single casks like we have with the Bushmills or the Lochindow, where I had no part to play in their maturation or development. I just found them, they were fantastic, and went, right, we're putting this in the bottle and selling it. So that's kind of a bit of a hybrid, I guess. In Ireland, back like in the history of whiskey in Ireland is interesting because a lot of the distilleries didn't actually bring their own product to bottle their own product under their own brand. They would have supplied labels back to bonders, who would have been, as they were called in Ireland, which generally were probably wine spirit merchants / publicans or bar owners. And they would have sent out the whiskey in barrels or filled whiskey barrels for them. And these bonders maybe also had wine casks or ex-fortified wine casks or port casks, rum casks, sherry, and they would have wanted to refill them. So they would have went to their local distillery and filled them up to get use out of the cask again, and then bottle their own whiskey after it. So that was how a lot of whiskey was getting, you know, obviously it was getting exported around the world as well, mainly to the United States pre-prohibition. And but in Ireland it was definitely all through the merchants until I think about the 30s. I think maybe the 30s or 40s, Jameson would have been one of the first to bottle themselves, and then Powers Gold label. So yeah, we're kind of doing something like that, but obviously we don't have our own distillery, so we're trying to source from multiple distilleries. And also we're not looking at just Ireland, we're looking at, you know, Scotland, as we've done, and we're looking at the US with bourbon at play at the moment, and other world whiskies and rum cask, and any kind of cask type we use, we will also try and bottle that product at some point so people can get the whole experience from us, you know.
Okay. Is that where, because like too, I would have thought maybe it had something to do with something that makes you guys very unique, is that you're very peat heavy, which a lot of people, when they think Irish, don't think of peat, but a lot of Irish whiskey back in the day was peated. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Sorry, I probably should have said that as well. So one of the things we wanted to focus on was the history of Irish whiskey as well, and you know, a lot of the misnomers that are out there is Irish whiskey is, well, 3 of them are: Irish whiskey is never smoky, it's always smooth, and always triple distilled. So there are 3 things you can just, you know, fuck out the door, basically. That's not true. It was true for you know, the last 50, 60 years. Probably maybe 100 years at this stage, sorry, really, because, you know, we all double distill. But the history of peat in Ireland, smoky whiskey, is really goes back a long way, because before coal became king, as I use in the back label of our Bill cask strength, peat was used to dry all the barley. So it was just inevitable that nearly every whiskey was actually smoky just by default. And then coal came in, obviously, and in Ireland we had a different setup than Scotland. Our distilleries were on a mass scale in the cities and towns. They weren't small scale, farm size in rural areas. So that's the difference we had. So they adapted to, you know, technology of the time, or the industrial age revolution, and they started using coal to fire the kilns and filter it, and that gave them, you know, what the Dublin distilleries actually started kind of bragging about was, the clean whiskey. So they wanted to get rid of the smoky smell, thinking it was kind of something that was to be, looked down upon. So when I was launching, then I kind of came across this distiller from Great Northern Distillery. I was in buying casks and having a look around, and I didn't expect to find peated single malt, found it, and I was leaving that day with my brother, and I said in the car, that whiskey it wasn't even whiskey, it was two. And I said, that stuff is amazing, and we're gonna bottle that. And we did, and we bottled it. The very first bottle was the Bill Phil, which we'll probably drink next. And it was, it was great to do it, and people thought I was crazy doing it. And we have a peat cask now. I've taken a Bill Phil cask, and I filled pot still into it, which is traditional, quintessential Irish whiskey, as the French might say. That's our first pot still whiskey, is going to have a peat cask influence. It's not peated pot still because it hasn't been used. We haven't used peated barley, but that's kind of just a nod again to what we're doing as an independent bottler, to reuse the casks we have at our disposal. So the same with, I reused the sherry butt from Bushmills. We refill it with 12-year-old single grain. We were using the PX casks in pot still as well, that we've been emptying for our PX series. So it's all kind of tied in together, to try and tell that story and our story as well, what we're trying to achieve over time.
Nice. And then during a little bit, you kind of mentioned a little bit about it, but during your time in Hong Kong, is that where you kind of fell in love with the peated single malts, or were you always more of a lover of peat, as the kids would say?
No, I wasn't. See, that was the thing. I was a real ardent, smoky whiskey. It's terrible. Why would you do that to whiskey? And then moving to Hong Kong, in Ireland, I would have been drinking Crested and Powers. There wasn't, and then on a special occasion, a Redbreast. That was pretty much it, Then moving to Hong Kong, and all of a sudden you've got Lagers and Bruichladdich and Lefroigs, and then and there's a couple of those I really don't like, by the way, at all. There's a certain style of smoky whiskey that I like, peated whiskey I like. I don't like all peat. I'm not a complete peat head that peat is everything. I have a couple of bottles of peat here that give me heartburn. I cannot drink them. So it was definitely Hong Kong that opened my eyes to that not all whiskey is created equally. Not all whiskey that's peated is not nice. You just have to keep, soldiering. It's terrible having to go through all these whiskeys to try them all to see which one you might like. Terrible. I advise anybody just to keep looking, keep trying it, and you'll be surprised. Maybe you'll go as far as the Highland Park, and that's and they're fantastic. It just really depends, and maybe you'll become a complete Lefroy head. Lefroy for me, I just can't do it. The old Lefroy I could do, the old Lager I can do, but the young stuff, no.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and that's where I think, and again, I'm kind of coming around to the idea of peat since the pandemic, but it was never really a big peat head, as the kids would say. But I had a friend that gave me the Lefroy 30 to sample, and I'm like, that's just fruit, and it's amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's absolutely great. And I mean, the same with your guys' stuff as well. It's not that peat the I think you guys call it PCP, the Band-Aid.
PCP.
Yeah. That kind of it doesn't have that Band-Aid kind of that you get from some of the peated scotches. So I think you guys do a really great job of adding it as a element of taste versus just that flavor of just this. It has to be peated, and that's what it is. And I think that's there are, that's the thing, there are lots of scotches like that too, and that's down to the distillery and how they approach their distillation style. If if we're looking at the Lockendale, I don't know if you have do you have the Lockendale? I don't.
The Scotch.
Yeah.
So I'll get you a sample of that or something over to you, but that's a really sweet charcoal meats, barbecued meat, like 63% at 10 years old, 55 ppms. It's phenomenal. Like you wouldn't know it was 126 proof, like, but it's just fantastic, and it's not what you'd expect, from a heavily peated Scotch. And then the Bill Phil is a heavily peated Irish, but it's triple distilled, and it's just this fruit bomb, isn't it? It's fruit and sweet peat. It's
it's great. How much crap did you get when you guys first came out? Because again, a lot coming out as a peated Irish whiskey, two things you never really put together. Like, was there a lot of
didn't get any crap? Zero. Got no, like, I was feeling the love, it was good. Okay. Because we launched with the Bill Phil, and we also launched with this 17-year-old, the PX17. I've none of it. Do I have some? Let's see. Let me see if I have it. This is my own bottle. Hold on. I'll just. No, that's it. Original Bill Phil. Yeah, I don't know if I have a 17 anywhere. Basically, it's ex-Pedro Jimenez sherry cask. Okay. Finished single malt, 17 years old. So I launched that at the same time. So we had 2 SKUs at Whiskey Live in Dublin. So we went to Whiskey Live. That was our first day ever appearing in public. So nobody had heard of us before then. Nobody knew what was happening. And we just had a stand. And I got the stand in the middle of the room at Whiskey Live. And I said, and I paid extra for it. And the guy was like, "You sure you want that?" I was like, yeah, I'm going to be in there because that's where all the big guys are. So I'm going to be in with the big guys because that's where everyone else is going to be. That was my thought process. And we're going to, hopefully get people's attention, and worked out really well. So we didn't just have the peated. We had this super premium 17-year-old malt from Cooley double distilled that finished in PX, and it was like delicious, really good. Still one of my favorite whiskeys today. And that kind of got us, we just got like a lot of love from that show, and the whiskeys stood up for themselves, and they're testament to the people who distilled them, and the finish. I said to people, like, it was nice, but I got lucky. It was my first time trying to finish a cask of whiskey, and I got it right. So that mightn't happen all the time, and it certainly hasn't happened all the time since. A lot of whiskeys I haven't bottled. So yeah, no, it was good. And Bill Phil, the peated Bill Phil has been supported really, really strongly, and there's been a lot of love for it, as I said. And I think it kind of kick-started a bit of a revolution in Irish whiskey, and that's not me being big-headed or bragging. I think it was coming. It just needed something, because the distilleries are distilling it. So somebody was going to do it, and it just happened to be we were in the right place at the right time, I think, with the right story.
All right, on to question 3, drink 3. We're flying through, halfway done. And
so what are we drinking next?
You tell me.
Ooh.
Got the 18, got the Bill Phil. I got the Bill Phil cast strength.
We'll finish off on the Bill Phils. Okay. So we'll go for the 18. I'm gonna have to pour a sample batch of my 18, I think.
And again, I tried to get, you guys just released the 19, and I couldn't get it here in time. So unfortunately,
I'm pouring this from a sample bottle. So the genuine article,
There you go. Now we know it's legit.
Yeah, I wish people always think I have loads of bottles of stuff, but I don't, because what I do is I buy my own bottles back off myself, and that's it. And then once they're gone, they're gone. I've actually bought some at auction recently. Because the thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring out whiskey that I love, and I hope other people will like it, because that might pay the bill someday. But ultimately, I'm really selfish, and I just want the whiskey for myself. So
I'll tell you, the 12. This one is just absolutely amazing. So And
Yeah, the 13 we just brought out, and the 13 as well. You know, we brought out the 13 of the 12.
yep.
So it's yeah, and we did the 19 of the 18 and the 17. So the PX19.
Well, question 3 then.
Whew.
Dude.
The train is a coming.
Yeah.
That is 58%. That one again. So we're a lot. I bet you a lot of the hardcore bourbon lovers would love a bit of this stuff. Yeah, it's really good. I'm a big I love the thing is I love PX. I like Oloroso too, but until I found that particular butt from Bushmills, there was nothing that I would have bottled as a single cask. So my ethos is just because you can doesn't mean you should. So that goes for whether it's a single cask or whether it's cask strength or both. So, you know, when you find them and you just go, wow, these are special, like this needs to get in a bottle now and people need to taste this. Like that's because a lot of them, like I went through a good few of those butts from the same batch. The butts were from the same bodega. They were used the same way in Bushmills. And then this one was like, you know, head and shoulders. It was like nothing close to the others. The others were like, yeah, they're nice, but, you know, I feel I need to stick that into a blend if I was buying it, you know. Then a single cask should be something special, shouldn't it? It should be, this was bottled because it's special, not because you can do it. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do, you know. It's not me being a snob, because we're definitely not a company who are snobbish as I sit here in a hoodie, looking like a homeless person like yourself. Like, you know, it's just, you know, that's how I want to just bring nice special cask to market, and when it can't be a special cask, it'll be a nice small batch, and that's kind of the model. So
okay, so then on to question 3 then. All right, so you've lived in Ireland, Australia, Hong Kong, Dubai.
Yeah.
Who has the better drinking culture?
Better drinking culture. And I lived in Denmark. Jesus, that's a good question. Like, I spend a lot of time in Germany as well at the moment for the last 5 years. My Mrs. Alina is half German, half Irish, and she was brought up mainly in Germany, in Munich. I would say of all of those countries that the Germans have a better drinking culture.
Okay.
That's what I would say. Like we have good, like in Ireland, we have some serious crack, you know, but it's always a blowout. It's never just steady. It's you know, it's a bit like Bitcoin. It's fucking. And when you have that Bitcoin crash, you're gonna feel it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Hong Kong was amazing. Like the fun I had in Hong Kong, most of it I could never repeat on camera.
Yeah,
so
well,
like
that's kind of where the question has come from, because I've, you know, drank, you know, with a few people from Hong Kong, and it doesn't matter what time you start, you're always going to be ending late. So or early, depending on where.
Like you know, I've never been to New York.
We got to change that. So
I've traveled the world, and I've a lot of the world, but the US I haven't seen extensively. I've only seen a bit of California and Hawaii. But they say New York is a city that never sleeps, obviously.
Yep.
I'll tell you, Hong Kong doesn't sleep. It should be twinned with New York.
I think you can get in a lot more trouble in Hong Kong than you can actually get in New York. So
you probably can't get arrested as easy. And I can vouch for that. Honestly, the stuff there was a game called Naked Taxi in Hong Kong.
Oh, all right. One night there was a 130 kilo prop from Ireland got naked in the front seat, and then you have to swap seats with the guy in the front and the back, and it's a big bench seat, you know, on the taxis. So real old school, you know, remember the old, yeah. Yeah.
So basically, you got this 130 kilo, like 130 kilos is 270 pounds. Yeah, that's a big dude
Yeah.
with a big white ass. Getting over the driver's shoulder to get to the back to the opposite corner, and the other guy, who was also quite a big dude, get the other side, and then they have to get redressed before they get to the destination. Now, I'm none of those guys, but I was, in the cab when it happened, and it was interesting. I certainly, I feel sorry for the taxi driver, but at the time, it's the funniest thing in the world.
Well, I mean, that's question 3. So again, I guess if we want to we got to party with some Germans. So, okay, I'm down for that. So.
Oh, dude, let's go to Munich. Come over. I'll meet you there. I'll get you some lederhosen. Would you look great in some lederhosen, I'd say. And, we'll sing some mass, and we just Helles in a liter jug. Eat some bratwurst, some bretzel, get very drunk, and go home. It's pretty straightforward.
Sounds like a good weekend trip. I'm down. So, all right. So, on to question 4, drink 4.
Jesus, you're really plowing through this. I have to get down the stairs and navigate like a baby gate.
We can take your time. I mean, again, I'm in no rush. So, I mean, I'm just feeling bad that, it's almost midnight for you. So
Oh, it's good fun though. I'm enjoying this. Good chat.
Good.
Normally it's all really serious whiskey conversation.
No, this is just me, 2 friends at a pub, just enjoying some good times, and that's really about it. And then again, throw a little talk about whiskey in there throughout. So
yeah, it's all, and which every conversation, if you're a whiskey fan, every conversation ends up around whiskey at some point, doesn't it? Like, it doesn't matter if you're traveling, or I was in Japan and I had this, or I was in, I don't know, Timbuktu and I had such and such.
Yeah.
I found this bottle or whatever. Like, people whiskey nerds seek out, look at that bottle on the shelf. Oh my God, see how cheap that is here. Get the bottle down.
Yeah, that's always through Whiskey Nerd, there's always something that you always got to pick out, that one bottle that be like,
yeah. And if you find a bargain, it's like, shit, look, I found a bargain. It's like the best thing ever, and you will drink all of it, or you won't, if you're going to be there regular, you won't tell anybody about it. Yeah. And it'd be your little, this little bottle there in these bars. Silly bar people don't realize what they have.
If you're not drinking your own stuff, what are you drinking?
Oh, I used to drink a lot more of other stuff, but we've had 2 kids in the last 3 years, and the company, so I drink a lot of my stuff. Or when I'm sampling, I use a lot of my nights if I have a chance for whiskey, I'll use my evenings to sample things and see what I'm going to do next. But I got a lot of Glendronach there. I like Glendronach. Like, this is a little fraction. I've got a lot of whiskey. I've got way too much whiskey. I support a lot of the Irish guys. I got Aquavita there from Chris Hennessy and Kilkenny and Jared. Cologne. I open all my colognes to all the flippers, Dismays. Yep. I'm a huge Dunville's fan. I'm a massive, you're going to hate me for this, I'm a massive Mitchers fan.
Okay.
I know Mitchers is frowned upon by a lot of the purists, but they make some fucking good stuff. Like, it's really good.
Doesn't bother me at all. So we're all good there. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know, but I think there's a lot of purists out there who don't like what they do, but like, they hit the taste buds pretty accurately, I'll tell you. I'm a big fan. Maybe it's because I watch Billions. I don't know. Maybe it's all just subliminal, I'm joking, but it's good stuff. A bit of George T. Stagg. I like a bit of, I look for the Jack Daniels single barrel stuff. I like that a bit. It's pretty eclectic what I like. Like I said, some of the lagers and the old Lafroigs, and I'm a fan of the Brookladdick stuff. I'm a fan of I got from your part of the world right now, I got some George T. Stagg there. I've actually smashed my bourbons a lot because I'm trying to develop a bourbon. So I'm trying to see what we can do, which is the thing. So yeah, I'm pretty low on bourbon at the moment, but I think that's gonna hopefully change in the near future to have some WD bourbon.
There you go.
Rather than JD Tennessee, you know.
Well, and two, like technically you could, like if you went to the Dublin airport and bottled it underneath the US customs, because that's considered US territory, you could call it bourbon then too. So like you could just
Oh
like,
well, we absolutely could do that, or we could just bottle it in the US and ship it to Ireland and call it
you do
bourbon.
that too. But yeah,
And that's probably what I'm going to do. We're going to do a Swedish whiskey real soon as well. I have a Japanese one, an actual Japanese whiskey, not Scotch or Irish, labeled as Japanese. So we've got a lot of stuff to do. It's just we need time to develop things and again, we don't want to just push them out there because the calendar says so. That would be the easy option. But I think long term that would not do us any benefit. And also I wouldn't be happy with it. So what's in our next drink? I'm thinking I might deviate away from my own. Is that okay? Are we allowed to do that?
I mean, what do you got?
Got a bit of ice left in my glass. I'm thinking. I'm a huge ice and whiskey fan. People who say you cannot put ice in your whiskey, they don't know what they're missing out.
Again, doing a little bit of my social stalking on you, I asked around of what I should ask you for questions. And unfortunately, you know, you're a pretty good guy and no one really had anything bad to say about you.
Oh, that's not true.
But, so, question 4 then, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I've been told that you're a man that can't sit still. What's next for you guys? Like, what's the big plan? Like, what's 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line look like for you?
Yeah, I definitely can't sit still. It's probably one of my my best and worst features if you can have them both together. I think well, I know what we're doing, like I know where my vision for the company is. You know, I always say to people I can't put that down on paper though, because you know I'd probably get arrested and locked up. So I kind of mentioned it earlier a little. You know, I want to have this Willy Wonka style factory where you can come and get all the different flavor profiles you want and create something. And obviously we want to create them for ourselves, and hopefully we collaborate with lots of people and fun people, interesting people all over the place. Maybe we'll do something together, who knows. Like, that's for me, that's what it's all about. It's just doing stuff that's fun. Like, the batch stuff is a bit boring, to be honest. I'm already, you know, we're on batch 5, but it's still only a few thousand bottles of bill fill. And it's like, oh, we gotta, you know, I can't, it's all about single cask and doing fun stuff and collaboration with people. And we've got this cool headquarters. We've got 11,000. Oh, you guys deal in feet. This is easy. 11,000 square feet of warehouse space. And, you know, we've got another probably 15 of yard space that we can already expand into. And then we've got 7,000 square feet of this old building from the 1830s to 50. I think it was 1850 when it was built. By the time it was completed. And we're going to turn that into like an event space with a bar and a you know, a retail outlet and meeting rooms and stuff that you can utilize it, whether you want it for whiskey or something else, or put on a small intimate gig. And in the warehouse, then we're maturing. We're going to mature all our own whiskeys. We're going to have blending tanks, two bottling lines, a full bottling line and a miniature line. Yeah, it's gonna be good. And like when I say we're going to have it, it's underway. We are moving in, equipment is being installed. And look, I set that stall out when I did, when I launched, that was the plan. I was like, we're getting a headquarters. I didn't know where the headquarters was going to be. Like when I started the business, we were living in West Cork. We're now in Waterford. And I kind of moved to Waterford because there was a program called, a couple of reasons. My mum lives in Carlow, which is about 1 hour away. My brother lives another hour the other direction. So it's a bit closer. West Cork was like, 4-day camel ride away. And we needed something. We knew we were having a second kid, and then after my dad died and everything, was like my mum didn't want my mum to be too lonely or isolated. And then I said, oh, there's this program in Waterford Institute of Technology run by Enterprise Ireland called New Frontiers. I'm going to get into that. And Alina's like, well, you might not get into it. I was like, no, we will. I'll get into it. So I went to phase one. Anyone can go to phase one. You can apply and they'll let you in, and then they kind of groom you and they see if you can get to the next level. And then they start paying you to actually be in it. So the government gives you tax-free money for 6 months to be in this course. So I actually moved my family to Waterford, found a new house, moved everything. Just as we started phase one, and then we moved. This is October, and then I got an letter of offer for phase two, New Frontiers, in December, just after we launched the whiskey. And I was at the same time applying for jobs because I was like, shit, if no one buys this whiskey, I'm bankrupt. Like, I've got loads of casks of whiskey and some bottles and a nice label, but like I'm screwed. So I was literally applying for jobs at the same time, which I do not like. I hate jobs. Like, who wants a job? Like, nobody. So that was the thing. So I was like, this was the whole, like, this was on a knife edge. And that was how I played it. I rolled the dice and I backed myself pretty hard. And you might say they were silly things to do, but if they hadn't worked out, you'd say that, but they've worked out. So I got New Frontiers phase two and got paid for the next 6 months. And that just was like, whew,
There you go.
I would get rent.
Amazing.
And that was how it kind of ended up here. And then the reason I'm telling you the story is multifaceted, because I was sitting in my first review in January, the end of January, with the guy who runs it, Eugene, great guy, Dr. Crean. And he took a gamble on me because I was definitely the only drinks company in it. They were looking for tech companies and pharmaceutical companies. I was a drinks business, so it was a bit strange. But we're sitting down and I said, I need a headquarters. If I don't get a headquarters, we're just going to be like everybody else. And I don't want to be like everybody else. We need to control everything. We need to be hands-on. I need to smell a cask and get a week and sample it. That's how it's going to work. And he said, yeah, but you're driving past this amazing location every week. Have you tried it? I said, what location's that? He said, the workhouse in Kilmacthomas. I said, I've never even seen it. And I've been driving past it for 3.5 months at this stage, every day, 2 days a week. And then that day I drove there, went in, and I got the guy who owned the site, his number, and I met him the next day. And we've been great friends since. And we now have a 25-year lease, and we're the biggest tenants on site. So it's going to be fun.
Cheers you on that one. Also, really bad of me, I forgot to even ask you, what are you drinking and why are you drinking it? So,
well, I'm drinking Stag, 63.2%, 126 proof. It's pretty good. I like it. I like bourbon. I like if it's tasty and it goes in a glass. I like it.
right.
I'll drink it. And I'm a big bourbon fan. Like, what I know about bourbon, you could write in the back of a postage stamp. Like, it's so limited. American whiskey scene in general is really exciting. And we're hoping to work, we are working on something and hoping to bring out our own bourbon at some point, maybe 2022, could be 2023, but we're working out with some pretty cool people too, so I can't say who, but when the time comes, I'll make sure you're the first to know.
All right, so on to question 5. Drink 5 comes down to the flip of the whiskey Wednesday coin. You can flip it, you can spin it, you can do whatever you want, but the coin will tell us the answer. You don't have to answer. The coin gives us the answer. But more importantly, before we get into the question, what are we drinking?
Bill Phil, peated single malt. Do you have the cask strength or?
Sure fucking do.
Yeah, baby. Do you have 19099?
I
Bottom
have
right hand side.
19099. Yes, I do.
Excellent. This is a tasty little drop. I was saying to you earlier, on the back of it, we say like, it's how it is, how it's the taste profile, where it's come from, and it was the first. Sorry, on this one, on the new one. Sorry, that was the first one. So that was our first single cask bill fill. So we did one more since then. So that's one a year so far. But I said it on the back. So before the canals were dug from Dublin across the country, turf was widely used across the entire whiskey process in Ireland. As coal became king, smoky Irish whiskey faded into the background. Now we're all just experimenting, etc., etc. So this is where that came from. And the bill fill single cask is a really nice kind of bottle to go along with the 47.5%, which is the standard batch whiskey. It complements it really, really nice at this really high ABV at 59%. So we're still getting all these same flavor profiles that we're getting from a batch whiskey, but we're getting it in one single cask. And that is really, as somebody pointed out earlier, that you have tried single casks, trying to get something that's from a batch to taste like one single barrel is really, really difficult. And when we find these, they're really special. So, and again, we won't bring one out. If there's not one there for you next year, it won't happen. Like, that's just it. So, get them while you can. They're definitely, I hope people over time, we're a new company, we're 2 years old, but I hope people understand that we are, what we say we do. And, it is, if we put into a bottle and it's cask strength and it's single cask, it's special. So grab it, because it's not a annual release single cask strength that comes out guaranteed. Like, that's just, it's not going to be at the same ABV. And also, a lot of cask strength whiskeys aren't cask strength whiskeys. They're brought down in ABV to meet the right flavor profile, which they're then better at, and they're fantastic. But that's not what they came out of the cask at. So it kind of defeats the purpose, I think. For me anyway.
And again, do you prefer most stuff at a higher proof point, or?
Yeah, I'm a high ABV guy, like, so, but it doesn't have to be. Like, I enjoy a few, like I enjoy Powers a lot. I'd always have a bottle of Powers in my house. And if you just wanted to just chill out with it, it's just, what you're gonna get. It's pretty easy to drink. But cask strength for me, it has to be good at cask strength. It can't be. Actually, one of the best experiences I had with cask strength whiskey was with my dad. Probably about 4 months before he died, he'd come down to visit me with my and see our daughter in West Cork, and I bought a Tullamore Phoenix. Do you know the Phoenix cask strength? That's a quality. Like, I buy those bottles on auction all the time. Anytime I see one, if I can get a good price, buy it. And it's super. It's discontinued. Amazing blend. And we were sitting there and he was drinking it, and he was like, he was 69 at the time. He's going, 55%. This is crazy, like, for him. But he kept picking the bottle up and pouring it into his glass. And, we polished the whole bottle off that night. The two of us at our kitchen table. And it was one of the great memories I had, because he was just telling everybody about how great this 55% whiskey. He couldn't believe that you could drink whiskey at this percent ABV and it would be good. And he had never experienced it before, because he just wasn't exposed to it. And it was nice to have that moment with him, I think. And that's how cask strength whiskey should be. It should be, it's perfect as it is. Yes, you can add water or whatever if you want, but ultimately you don't want to add anything. That's the whole idea. That's how I see it anyway. Whether others agree or not, I don't know, but that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Again, cheers. So we'll get into question 5. So
Sláinte. Oh, I haven't had that in a while. It's nice.
That is again, it's not what I'm used to as a flavor profile, but it like you can respect the shit out of that. That is just so damn good. Like that is it's not overpowering. It's not like it's peaty, but it's or smoky, but it's a element that is there and then it's gone, and then you get the fruitness of it afterwards. Like it's
so much fruit there. Yeah, so much fruit.
Yeah,
it's great. The best description I got of the bill filled so far was a blogger, and he I don't know the guy actually that well. At the time, I definitely didn't know him at all, and he wrote about bill fill, and he just had bought it, and he just said, this picks up Ardbeg 10 and shakes it down for its lunch money. Is what's his quote. And I just thought, like, I had a smile across my, like, you can see it right now. It just makes me, it was one guy. It doesn't matter. It might not be the universal opinion of it, but that makes me feel pretty happy, and that's what we're trying to do. And I think we need to give people time in Irish whiskey, and that's the other thing. Pot still has been coming out, and most new distilleries are focusing on pot still, and it's going to take time for them to get up to speed. You can't compare 5-year-old pot still with something over Middleton. Like, just leave your Middleton expectations at the door when you try pot still, because it's going to take time for that pot still to become representative of the category of Irish whiskey. And that's what's going to be really interesting, because maybe in 10 years' time, we can have a proper conversation about bill fill and Ardbeg. Maybe it could be a proper conversation, but right now it's the and that should be our target. Like, that might be,
So question 5 actually comes from your man Michael Common, and you already know.
No, I have a mouthful of cat-string bill fill. I'm like, give me a second, thank you. I should have seen this setup coming.
Again, you can flip it, you can spin it, you can do whatever you want. The coin will give us the answer. But Michael Common wants to know, are you the most successful man to come out of my show?
Well, that's a bit of a two-sided question. Probably not, I would say.
Okay.
But do you want me to flip the coin?
Yeah, let's see what the coin says. Oh, but yeah.
Fuck yeah. I would say Padraig Fox is the current global Guinness ambassador. He's from Michael.
Right.
And we got a Michelin star chef from Michelin, Ardmore. He might argue that. And I think there's a racehorse, if I'm being honest, and I'm speaking for all of the other guys that I just mentioned. There's a racehorse that came from Michelin called Denoli, and I'm pretty sure he was the most famous guy from Michelin.
Daithí, thank you so much. That's 5 drinks, 5 questions answered, way past midnight your time. Thank you, sir, for joining us. I really appreciate your time. If you're ever in my city, please look me up. I'll be more than happy to take you out. And I think I'm coming over in March, so I'm going to be looking you up. So,
sweet. Well, dude, you're more than welcome. I will welcome you with open arms. You can come stay at my house if I'm around. I have to check the dates. Come visit, and I will 100% come and sleep on your couch in New York.
Spare bedroom, so you're fine. So
cool, even better, because I do not want to pay for hotel rooms.
Yeah.
And no, thanks again for having me on, and I really long overdue, and I really appreciate all the support as well. It's been really good fun. I really enjoyed tonight. Something different.
Well, cheers to you, sir. And until we can drink in person. So
Yes, absolutely. Sláinte.
cheers.